a queen, so never let them get you off your throne. Perfect just the way you are, you blessed beyond a channel wall. You're beautiful when they see. Out of control, you'll see. You came up, you can't knock you down. You an ego and you're so now. I see you, yeah, you glowing, you're rolling, so lethal, yeah, explosive commotion. Walk in the room and you'll freeze, yeah. You stop the time when you leave. S-P-E-C-I-A-L, you special, you're so wonderful. You know you a queen, so never let them get you off your throne. Perfect just the way you are, you blessed beyond the channel wall. I took this time when you made you of a kind, you 100 proof. Talk about a line, 9/11 cool. Stop in the time, you're so magical. God took his time, one of a kind. Top of the line, stop in the time. God took his time, one of a kind. Top of the line, stop in the time. Hey, you are amazing, simply amazing. I just wanna stop and say that you're beautiful.
Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back to Facing Purpose radio show. I am your host, Lakia Barnett, and I am so glad to be back before you. It has been a lovely little time off. You know how that is. Everybody needs a break, but I am excited to be back before you on tonight. It has been a wonderful day, a marvelous day. I hope that you are well in your mind, in your soul, in your spirit. And I hope that you're going to enjoy this show today because I am triple excited about my guest on tonight. She is awesome. I had the chance to speak with her. I feel like she is going to be needed definitely for the years to come. And I am talking about Miss Christine J. Allen. You guys will get to know her. She's also an author. She's a therapist. She's an entrepreneur. She is all the great things, business consultant, counselor. Come on now, everything that we need right now. So listen, I want you guys to just get comfortable on your couch, on your bed, get your pillows, get your drinks, get your popcorn, and let's relax and get ready to talk to Miss Christine J. Allen. Are you on the line? Christine, you there?
Yes, I am here. For some reason, I was put on hold. Hi.
Okay. All right. So welcome to Faith and Purpose radio show. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell the people a little bit about yourself before we start diving into some tea that we know that you're going to be ready to spill when I get through asking all these questions tonight. But you can go ahead and give them a slight introduction of who you are on tonight.
Okay, I am Christine Johnson Allen, born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens, New York. I'm a product of the New York City school system. I believe I represent what's right and what can come out of a good public school system with all the bad rap that it gets now. I am a master educator, a master social worker. I'm currently enrolled in CBIS, Christian Bible Institute and Seminary, to attain my doctorate in Christian counseling and psychology. Ultimately, I'd like to become a Christian counselor, among other things that I'm pursuing. I'm a New York State licensed social worker, which qualifies me to provide counseling and coaching and therapy and other mental health services. And I currently serve as a family recovery counselor with families of persons addicted to drugs and alcohol who are in treatment or post-treatment. I am a retired New York City government training manager, and after 38 years of city service, I thought it was time to do something else, and so doing some of the things that, that I'm involved in now. And I am a woman in recovery with over 27 years of time away from drugs and alcohol. And I'm a survivor. And all of these things, my experience, my successes, my challenges and failures, all of those have led me to write the book, Stepping Out of It All, A Guide to Recovery from Everything. So that is me in a nutshell.
All right. So that was a mouthful, and I'm just glad. Listen, I'm excited about all of this. So listen, I know that the listeners want to know, okay, now where did she start from? So let's take it a step back and just give me one time in your life, Christine, where you had to overcome an obstacle in your life. Let's talk about that.
Okay, well, as I said, I am a woman in recovery, and I started out as a black girl from Queens, New York. I excelled in school, and, I was in honors classes and graduated with honors and went straight into college, and I excelled there. And but during that time, drugs were a part of the culture, part of the party culture, so, we would all, smoke a little weed and drink a little wine or some wine coolers, and didn't really understand, that the disease of addiction is something that can, that can attack, whether you are, someone who lives on Park Avenue or someone who lives on a park bench who doesn't really care. And so, all of our fun and living and enjoying, we got caught up in the drug culture. And I was addicted for a while, and I didn't know that that's what was going on in my life, why things were kind of going downhill, because I really hadn't connected the dots for myself. And what happened was things just got really bad. I just didn't have control. With all of the control that I had, exhibited throughout my life, I wasn't able to control the drug use. And so I went into treatment. And when I went into treatment, they gave me some information that I didn't have before. I didn't understand that, that what was going on with me was a disease of addiction. What was changing my life and changing my mindset and my own self-image, all of that was coming out of drug use. And they taught me about recovery. And I am a survivor of many things that happened during the course of my life, and I really didn't talk about it with people outside of the recovery community, because of the stigma of drugs and, what's wrong with you, and, people would, be talking about people who had used drugs and got caught up in them, asking, why are they so weak? Why can't they just say no, et cetera. But I lived and experienced what I did. I believe, God has a path for all of us, and sometimes it includes those dark turns so that we can come out of it and we can talk about how we were graced, and receive some victory, through those times. So, yes, I am a person in recovery. I am recovering from drug addiction, but I'm also recovering from so many other things. But I'm grateful, because when I look at my life today, I know that it was the grace of God. It was good information. It was being willing to participate, in my own recovery, to listen to people around me who had, had their own recovery processes, in place, and who taught me, that I wasn't bad. I wasn't a bad person. I was just a sick person, and I just needed to follow the way so that I could get better. So that is a major life-changing experience in my life, that everything that I am now is really based on recovering from addiction and then understanding what that means, based on my personality, who I am, what I do, how I live, how I think, and how I can change those things, how I can recover from those things. So it's a long answer to that. So it was the period of addiction, very dark time. And now when I look at it, I know that God allows you to go through experiences, to be able to go through them, get through them, overcome them, and then be able to help somebody else. And, I just feel blessed, that even though the world is going through what it's going through, not just the pandemic, but mental health issues and the way addiction is now taking over, every culture and every race, every, part of this world, that I've been blessed, that I found that the answer to how you can, learn how to stop using drugs and lose the desire to use and find a new way to live. So I am, I'm a success story of what recovery can do and what it can look like in someone's life. And I just want to be able to help others that are struggling with that.
Yes, amen. Well, I have to say to you that it is an awesome testimony of yours to hear you talking about what you overcame. And addictions is so hard. We see so much of this in our society, and people think that it's just so easy for people to come away from certain things that they have become addicted to, and it doesn't always have to be a drug either. You understand what I'm saying? So I really take my head off to you, and it's blessed to hear what God has done for you. So with that being said, Christine, what does purpose mean to you? When you hear the word purpose, what does that mean to you?
I think of purpose as, according to my belief system, what God designed me to do. And, it is my gift, my talents, my interests, and it is an opportunity for me to serve others, in whatever way my gifts and talents lead me. And who would think that, that being a drug user would lead to anything but the resilience, and the willingness to learn something new about myself has led me to my own purpose. I know that God has a plan for me. So purpose is about the intended plan. It is before I was born, God already had a plan for me and had some things for me to do. And I believe my purpose is aligning myself with the God of my understanding so I could do the things that he intended me to do.
Amen. Absolutely. All on purpose. So tell us about your book, Stepping Out of It All, A Guide to Recovery from Everything. So how did the process of you writing that book kind of start? Because I know that every process is different. When I talk to authors, it's so funny how their books came about, or how the life got breathed in order for these books to come to life and come to fruition. So how did that start for you? How did this book come about?
Well, I am a member of a 12-step fellowship, and we would often laugh and joke that the world needs recovery. The world needs a program. If only they could understand the way the 12-step process works, then maybe the world would be better. Maybe people would be a bit more kind to each other. Maybe they would, handle each other with some patience and tolerance and compassion and empathy, and more than anything, with some love. And so we would say that all the time. The world needs a program. The world needs to, to experience recovery at its best. And so I said, okay, then I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to introduce the world to the idea, the concept of recovery, and how it's worked in my life. And I know that, often I do believe that everyone does need a program, but if someone doesn't have an issue like drugs or alcohol or sex or gambling, the big-ticket, glaring items, they would probably never find themselves in a 12-step program. and so, because they don't feel like there's anything wrong with them. Most people will say, well, that's how I am, and so they just accept that they are who they are, and good enough is just good enough. So I wrote this book because I recognize in my own life that I have not only recovered from drugs, but I recovered from low self-image and low self-esteem and from communication issues and from people pleasing and from so many different things. And I wanted to introduce that to the world because I believe if the world can understand that, the 12 step is not a bad thing, it really is just learning how to reconfigure and how to do your life with a different approach. How to incorporate spiritual principles into your everyday living so you can be better to other people, but you can also be better to yourself, be a better version of yourself. So I wrote this book because they said that we need to tell the world that they need a program, so this is my book telling them that the world needs a program.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. So during the course of you writing this book, what were your emotions? What was the anticipation that was kind of building with that? Because you know how we sometimes talk ourselves out of doing stuff, first of all. Sometimes when it's looking a little weighty, a little heavy, we be like, oh, Lord, should I do it? Should I not? Mm-hmm. What were some of the emotions that you were experiencing while you was writing this book?
Well, the primary feeling was fear. Because, as I mentioned before, because of the stigma, because of how people look at drug users and drug addiction, I was afraid. I did not want people to look at me and judge me and think of me any less than who I am. And so as I was writing, I was thinking, I don't really know where this is going to go, but I felt compelled to write the story. The book that I've written now, Stepping Out of It All, A Guide to Recovery from Everything, is the second iteration of this book. The first book was called Stepping Out of It All, A Guide to Recovery from Life Concerns, and I wrote it under a pseudonym. The name, I used the name A Woman. That was my author name, because I was still filled with some shame, afraid of what people might think, how they might judge me, what the government might do, because I said I was retired. I was blessed to keep my job throughout my addiction, but I didn't want them to find out who I was and take my job away from me. So I didn't tell. I wouldn't tell anybody that I was in recovery because it's anonymous and I have that choice. But I didn't tell them more so because I didn't want them to think that I was any less than who I was. And so when I wrote this book, I actually started writing the first book around the time that my mother had passed away. I started writing it, I put it down, and I picked it up because there was a megastar who died from drug addiction. And I felt like if my book had been out there and she had an opportunity to read these words and know that recovery was available, that maybe she wouldn't have died. And so I started writing, and I just kept on writing until I got to the end, and I just kept rereading and writing. And fear was always there, but I retired, and that eliminated some of the fear, but just my knowing that God is in charge of my life and that he's going to cover and protect me has got me in a place where I had no reason to be feared. He hasn't given me a spirit of fear, but a spirit of love and power and a sound mind, and I need to walk in the love, the power, and the sound mind that he's given me and not worry about somebody judging me. Because right now there's so many people whose family members are dealing with addiction that maybe 10 years ago they were, judging and on the other end of advocacy for helping with drugs, and drug addiction and treatment, and they had judgment about it, and now they're seeking help for their children. So I just couldn't let the fear stop me. So it held me a little captive, but just like courage. Courage is not that there is no fear. Courage is moving forward despite the fear. So I moved forward courageously, praying the whole time, asking God to help me that if I write this and I put my name on it, that he would bless it.
Yes. So it sounds like, as I'm listening to you briefly tell your story, there was an act of obedience that was done. And I love to hear stories and testimonies when God gives a command and we have the option to follow it. And when you follow it, you'll see where it leads to. Now for you, how important is obedience? How important was it that you obeyed what the need was? Because there was a need here on earth, and I love that you mentioned about this particular high influential person that was battling with something, but there was not a solution around her that could have avoided maybe her death. You understand what I'm saying? So a lot of people don't understand, like, you know, these things, what you're saying, this makes so much sense. If it had been around, it probably would be a different scenario. She probably would still be here because she had something that was the answer to what she's been trying to tell the people around her, that they weren't receiving it. How important is obedience to you?
I believe that obedience is everything, especially when it is following what you feel in your spirit, you're being told, being compelled to do. And I would, you know, just like to do things the way that I want to do them, you know, the softer, easier way on most days. But I hear, you know, in my spirit, I hear God talking to me about the things that I need to do, the things I need to stop doing, you know, directions I need to go in, you know, and He's constantly moving and repositioning and placing me in places before people, you know, and making opportunities, opening doors, closing doors, etc. And so the more I obey, the more I see the benefit in obeying. You know, so it's easier. It's like when a child, when you tell them no, you could tell them no and they'll stop doing that, but then they'll do something else and you tell them no, et cetera, et cetera. And I recognize, you know, throughout my life, but especially now, that God is doing something. He is meticulously orchestrating everything for me and that I need to follow. And so I pray and I listen for His response and I follow to the best of my ability. You know, and I know that, you know, that God has a way of, you know, if you tell you to eat your spinach and you fight and rebel, you don't eat your spinach. You can eat your spinach hot or you can eat your spinach cold, but you're going to eat your spinach. You know, so ain't no sense in me not obeying what I believe is God leading me because, you know, He's the creator and I'm just the creation, and it benefits me that I follow what I'm told.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I hope that everybody who's listening understands what it sounds like when God gives you instructions. It is for you to obey so that you can see this thing through, because, again, it's sometimes it's not even about us. It's just the act of our obedience that is going to help somebody else come out, because if we told God no or we took our time, then it's going to delay the people that are connected. It's going to delay the people that are connected. So I love how this happened for you. So with the book being written and you're now pushing forward, what do you want people to get out of reading your book? Like, what is it that you are expecting to happen when people read your book?
Well, I'm hoping that people will get some hope that whatever situation they're in, whatever is their circumstance, personally, professionally, that there is a way out. You know, that there is a recipe, there's a design in life for success. And really the basic Reader's Digest version of it is becoming aware, accepting that there is something going on that's not benefiting you, that's a distraction, that's keeping you from being your best self and living your best life, and accepting it, and then coming up with an idea about how do you move forward. You know, I know that out of this book there's opportunity, you know, to do workshops and to come to speak to groups of people, which that is my greatest desire. I want to talk to people to help them see that there is hope. You know, that if you are in a hopeless state or condition, that there is hope. And whether it is drugs, or it is bad relationships, or it is, you know, low self-image, or it is lack of confidence, that there is a way out, that you can recover from that. You know, recovery is being restored to the state in which you were designed. There's a plan for all of us, but if we never look at the things that are getting in our way, then we never get the opportunity to address them, to accept them, and then to decide that you want to do something different. And whether the help is through therapy or through, you know, reading this book, there is a part in the book for, you know, for helping you with mental health. You know, there's it is based on the 12-step model, but I talk about my experience with how the 12 steps have helped me not only to survive drug addiction, but divorce, you know, terrible workplace injustices, you know, bad friendships, loss of love. All of those things are things that can attack us and you know, and make us feel like there ain't no hope. But I'm here to tell you that I'm a survivor of all of that. And if I can do it, so can you. So I want to have an opportunity. Out of this, I'd like to have an opportunity for greater audience to be able to hear, to ask questions. I'm hoping to put out a workbook with this book so that people can actually work through their own processes in a step-by-step formalized way. But for now, I just want to get the word out there that we can recover. And, you know, at some point I will get my website up, you know, so that I can make myself available. It's actually up, but I haven't formalized it. And I'll tell you this, I was sitting in a conference at the end of 2020, you know, so we were all going through the pandemic, and it was a very scary time, right? We didn't know what was going to happen. The world was imploding, and we were just all kind of terrified. And so I'm in this women's conference, and this woman said, if you don't follow your purpose, people are going to die. Now, with all the things that were being said on that day, what that woman said, if you don't follow your purpose and do what your gift, talent, you know, or purpose is, people are going to die. Right then and there, I decided that I was going to start a company called I'm Every Woman Enterprise, and I was going to do something with it. And I haven't gotten the word from God that said exactly what I should do with it, but I started that company because I knew out of that company that I would be able to do something. I also republished this book after I was in that conference. I was inspired because I don't want people to die because I'm afraid to tell my story, because my story is one of a victorious one. And I just think that, you know, sharing the hope with people that it can be better, that you can do better, that you can have better, that you can overcome those things that keep you in place, that you can do it too. So that's my hope. People will read this book and be inspired. That's my hope.
Sounds good. So we're going to take a quick break, and I will be back in a minute after the song.
Without the vision, that I slowly die. Where are the people full of calling? People with passion to reach the reach. Oh, where are the pillars of faith? Spirit-filled preachers and prophets that pray. Where are the Elijahs who stands unafraid? People directed to go beg and live.
with all of this being said, with your book out and just hearing some of your backstory of where you came from, I do have to ask these things that I think everybody is going to want to know. But first, before I get to one of the major questions, what are 2 tips as far as being able to identify when there is an addiction present? I think that we need to make family, friends, community aware of what to look for when this is happening, because I don't think a lot of people understand or may be able to identify or even know what are those signs. So what are 2 major signs that people need to look for when they're dealing with family members or friends they may be experiencing addiction?
Well, there's a lot of information out there, family to family, families of recovery, et cetera. There's a lot of information if you Google about is my child or is my family member addicted? Because often people look away, they're in denial, they don't want to believe that their loved one could possibly be involved in something like that, and so they look away until it's too late. But I would say, you know your loved one. Look at the patterns. When someone's behavior patterns change, something has changed, you know, the way they look, the way they act, you know, if they're sleepy, if they've always got a story, you know, if you find them telling lies, usually there's some drug addiction that's happening. And alcohol is a drug, let me just say that. So, you know, thinking that, you know, the kids, you know, they're just drinking a little too much, you know, you might want to do some intervention, you know, and there are all kinds of programs out there, especially now with the opioid explosion, you know, that has a lot of kids and adults dying from opioid overdoses. So I would say pay attention to their behavior, and I would also say don't be afraid to ask the questions, because communication is key. And you can also Google that. How do I ask questions, communicate with my child or my loved one, you know, about addiction, if I see the signs? And that's what I've learned to do as a, you know, as a therapist, as a family recovery counselor. You know, often people ask me a question, and I don't have all the answers, and so I Google it to see if what I think is the right answer, you know, is the right answer. So pay attention and communicate.
Absolutely, I agree. So going into, you know, now in the world that in the time that we live in the world that we live in, social media plays a lot of placement in this next generation coming up, and you're seeing a lot more of this generation getting into things like, you know, lots of drinking, lots of everything. It's just everything that is going on. But you can tell that a lot of it is being pushed through social media as well. What are your thoughts about that? What are your thoughts about where we are with social media and, you know, just what you feel that needs to be done to kind of control some of what is happening in our society with our up-and-coming generation that we have?
Well, I think for parents, talk to your children. You know, often people, you know, they want to be the child's friend. They don't want them to shut down. You know, but if you practice open communication with them, you know, when they're younger, then as they get older, it's less difficult, you know, to talk to them about the touchy subjects. You know, social media is saying to them, use drugs, drink, you know, get money, you know, wear less, you know, sex, drugs, rock and roll is the way to go. And being able to have healthy conversations, you know, with the entire family, you know, about what your experience has been, what you've seen, ask them questions about what they think, you know, find out where your kids in particular are, when it comes to, drugs. I'm grateful that, my son saw some things, and he said, just like I said, my father drank. I said, I'll never drink. I didn't know that drugs would become my problem. But my son said some things, and he said, I'm not doing that. I don't want to be like that. And so, just having conversations, healthy, honest conversations about what they see. And if you have young children, anywhere from 16 on down, you can do some parental controlling on what they see, at least in their house. They might be exposed to some things outside of their house and on their phone, but you can put parental controls in place, to at least deal with, with the reality of what is happening. That you don't want them to see it, and you put your parental controls on. But I would say talking, communicating is everything.
Absolutely. I do agree with you that open communication needs to be something that needs to be ongoing, especially with this generation coming up. We have to be more vigilant. We cannot be too busy that we're missing what is happening within our homes, within our communities, within our churches, which is going to lead me to my next question to you, is about how important it is to have therapists even in the church. There are so many people that are coming in broken and still dealing with traumatic experiences, like you said, addictions, many other things, abuse. There are so many different things that it goes on that is brought to the church. And a lot of the times people expect the leaders to be able to fix everything, or you might hear them say, all you need is Jesus, girl. A dose a day of Jesus is going to make everything go away. Well, that is true that we need Jesus, but at the same time, he did create the field of therapy. And with the right one, you can get what you need and Jesus, okay? Because your mental health is important. So what is your stance on that? Because I just think that it is just bananas to me that people don't think therapists are needed even in the church.
Well, I think there needs to be some communication and education. I know that, yes, I believe, I'm a believer. I don't want to talk about my faith here, but I will, that I believe in God, and I believe a particular doctrine. And I know that he is all-knowing and all-powerful, but I also believe that he puts gifts and talents and people in place to help us because, our leaders, our spiritual leaders, are there to help us to develop ourselves spiritually and to understand a particular doctrine. But when it comes to the disease of addiction, I'm a believer that there are people in place. Just like if your eyes go bad, you may pray over your eyes, yes, and ask God for healing, absolutely, but you also go to the ophthalmologist and let them check to see if you have glaucoma or cataracts or anything like that. And so I think that often people, and leaders in particular, are not as open-minded. Let me say that, not educated, but open-minded to the idea that God puts people in place for a reason, and just like the leaders are there to guide people in their spiritual walk, there are people in place to guide you in their medical walk, and there are also people in place to help you to deal with your mental wellness. I know that, in the African-American community, you say therapy, people say, I'm not crazy, but therapy is not just for psychiatric issues. Mental wellness is about your emotional, mental, psychological, and it's attached to your spiritual wellness. So yes, I need to have something, a higher power, a God, Jesus, whatever it is that a person chooses, get something, but also get the outside help that is necessary. Because I tell you, if my back hurts, I will go and probably ask for prayer and to get hands laid on, but I'm going to see the doctor to see what's going on with my spine. And it is not that my faith is less or that my belief in God, is weak. It is that I trust God, and I pray to him that he lead me to the right doctor or psychologist or therapist to give me the thing that I need so that they can do the earth work to help me to be healed according to the word. So I think education, I think conversation, and I think open-mindedness will help people. It's not a disrespect or a disregard or disloyalty to your faith to say I need to go and get some outside help to talk about what's going on because my mind is unclear or is weighted down. No. I think God would want us. He says he wants us to be blessed and prosper even in our health. And I think that he gives us what we need. And I think that relying on just the medical or social work or psychological teams out there, I think that's not enough for me. But I know that if I am aligned with God and his will for my life, that I'm going to seek out through prayer, God, what do I need to do now? And usually he leads me to the source. And sometimes it's outside of the church because the church has its role to oversee us spiritually. But there are some helpmeets out there to help us to get better, to live a healthy, prosperous life.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. And I'm so glad that you spoke upon this because, like I said, people act like we don't need therapists. They're needed, especially in this day and time. It is needed. And there's nothing wrong with it, right? It's just like maintenance with, like you said, the rest of going to the dentist, going to get your health checks every year, your physical, things like that. Is nothing wrong with this. So we have to stop moving like it is something wrong with it. So why don't you go ahead and let everybody know how to connect with you, how to find you like on your social medias and things like that.
So I'm a baby boomer, and so I'm working on getting social media, etc., in place. For now, I do have a Facebook website, Christine J. Allen, where there's information about the book and where you can purchase it. The book can be purchased right now on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble, and ultimately I'll be able to, once I get my team together, I'll be able to offer the book. Once someone just contacts me, I can send them the book. But for now, it can be purchased at Barnes & Noble or at Amazon. Again, I do have a website that alludes to my book, but it also talks about the services that I offer. The company is called I'm Every Woman Enterprise, and I offer things like management training, because I am a retired training administrator. I believe in training. I believe in education. I believe in continued education. And so I offer training, workshops, management consulting, and for people who are doing startups, part of my work in social work, in my social work program, was as a social work administrator. So I work with people who are starting businesses and want to figure out, what do I do now that I have an idea, about what that structure would look like, moving from the idea, to an actual operation. So, you can find me on Christine J. Allen on Facebook. Reach out if you're interested in workshops or collaborating. I wrote this book not with women in mind. This is a book about the human condition. And so I have a friend who actually uses this book with men who are in treatment, and he told me about extraordinary results from using, presenting the idea of the 12-step model and being able to work through where you're at and how do you implement, the 12 steps and, in the process of change, and in the process of treatment. So right now you can find me there, but I'm just going to keep on living and I'm going to keep on, praying to God that he will bring people into my life, that have, background in social media and graphics and things like that, so you will be able to follow me on Instagram, etc. Soon come.
Yes, they are coming. Yes, yes, yes. So, do you have any upcoming events or anything that you are attached to that's coming up that you want to just announce on the air?
I'm actually doing a virtual book tour in August. I'm linked up with the Black Authors Network, and so the virtual book tour, it brings authors together, and I will post that on my Facebook page once I get the full information. But I will be one of the authors that is being spotlighted, and it's authors from all over the world. And sometimes you see a book, and you read the cover of it, and you say, "Oh, interesting." I don't really know, but the authors actually go in detail, and read a little piece of their book. And as we're doing here, talk about the background to the book and, and how they came to develop it and what their actual purpose is. And so, yes, that's the only one on August 29th, but I will post that.
Okay, great. So, yes, let us know about that. And thank you so much, Ms. Christine, for coming on to bless us with your expertise, to bless us with your story, to bless us with, just tips on how to deal with people who suffer from addictions or anything like that. It is so needed. You are needed. And I thank you for taking time out to hang with me tonight on Faith and Purpose.
Yes, thank you, Lakia. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure and an honor, and I'm just really grateful that, in my book I talk about mission and purpose, and my purpose is just to, share my story, tell my truth, and, there's a poem by Marion Williamson, that talks about, we have to tell our truth. He says, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And as we are liberated from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates others. So I'm hoping that by telling my truth, that I can maybe give somebody permission to tell their truth if they're looking for help, if they're ashamed to talk about their story, that they will get some freedom and some courage to tell their story, because somebody is waiting to hear it so that they can be blessed. So thank you again for having me tonight. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. So you guys heard it first. Exclusive interview with Miss Christine J. Allen. You guys make sure that you follow her, stay up to date on everything that she is doing, and go purchase her lovely book so that you can get the tip that you need just in case you may have someone in your community, your family, your friends that may be experiencing any of these things. We want to make sure that everyone is getting the help that they need. So you guys make sure you tune in next Saturday with me again at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It has been my pleasure to come on the air and share space with many people around the world who are doing what we call facing purpose. So if you got anything out of this broadcast tonight, it is really just to walk in purpose. Do what God told you to do. Be obedient and be okay with the call that is on your life. So thank you guys for tuning in, and it's been real, but good night.
Good night.
You know you're a queen, so never let them get you off your throne. Perfect just the way you are, you're blessed beyond a shadow bar.
You're beautiful when they see. Out of control, you'll see. It came up, they can't knock you down. You an ego and you're so now. I see you, yeah, you glowing, you're rolling, so lethal, yeah, explosive commotion. Walk in the room and you'll freeze, yeah. You stop in time when you leave. S-P-E-C-I-A-L, you special, you're so wonderful. You know you a queen, so never let them get you off the throne. Perfect just the way you are, you blessed beyond the channel wall. Touch it, just